Did you guys really think I wasn't going to talk about this slut shaming? I just have needed a few days to wrap my head around how I really feel about it and what I really think happened and how I am really thinking. So I've come to this conclusion. First of all, cheers. It's like this. Obviously there's more than two categories of women, but I'm going to just sum this up for you guys by saying there's two categories of women. One category is, let's say, someone who's very comfortable with their sexuality. Women that are very, intimacy is very important, and it's something that happens faster than usual because that's just kind of who you are. You're just a touchy-feely, intimate type of person. And then there's another group of women who just aren't like that, who maybe pace themselves more and who find value in maybe prolonging that stuff, which is totally fine too. This is my thing. If you are in this group of women who you don't jump into anything intimate quickly, I'm asking you to please open up your mind and your heart to the situation that Kaitlyn has been put in, as if you were maybe more open. Just be a little understanding here, okay? I know that this situation to you is very dramatic, it is very inappropriate, and is very the opposite of anything you would ever do. But I want you guys to really try to be compassionate and understanding for the type of person that Kaitlyn is, which is why Kaitlyn is the best Bachelorette. Let me finish. So, you're this category of woman, and you are someone who can relate to what Kaitlyn's gone through, okay? You're someone who has maybe woken up the next day and thought to yourself, I maybe shouldn't have done that. You're not necessarily distraught and in the fetal position crying about it. Maybe you are. But you're probably the type of girl that's like, shouldn't have done that. Is that right? Is that wrong? It's irrelevant. It's really not anyone's business. It's just, it's totally dependent on who you are. Well, I'm telling you, Kaitlyn is obviously that type of girl, which is wonderful. There's wonderful things about that. I mean, intimacy is something that is very special and is important to a lot of people. And for some people, they do put more value in that and do find that to be something that's really important and crucial. And for someone like Kaitlyn, who does seem to be a free spirit and lets herself kind of just go with the emotion and go with how she's feeling, which is similar to kind of how I am, I can understand how, you know, being put in a situation where you are attracted to this guy and you are vulnerable and you have really committed to jumping into this experience with an open mind and an open heart, and the next thing you know, you find yourself in a situation that is intimate, that is sexual, that is maybe not what you expected, but it happened. Okay, so you know what that feeling is like, and you know how that must feel for Kaitlyn. So now add cameras, and now add millions of viewers to that. Is there a sense of responsibility that Kaitlyn should have taken in taking on the role as Bachelorette and maybe not gone there? I don't know. That's not my role. To be honest with you, I actually think this is why Kaitlyn is going to be such a great Bachelorette, is because I feel like that is a very human experience. That is something that more women than not, I'd be willing to bet, can relate to. And I love that she can go into this experience and have it be about her and what she wants and how she feels. And I think that at that moment, she did what she felt. And I think, unfortunately, she woke up and realized, oh my gosh, millions of people are going to see this. Well, I think she probably did the same thing anyone else would do and go into panic mode and feel terrible and whatever. But if you were to break all that down and go back to the real situation that happened, was a sexual, intimate experience with someone that felt right at the moment, that felt good at the moment, and you allowed it to happen, and then regretted. the next day. That is the power of sex. That is why sex is so powerful. There is something about it that takes your relationship to a level that you can't go back. Once you share that kind of intimacy with someone, it truly is. There's something really, really profound about it that changes you. And I think it's important to talk about. And I think it's really a great opportunity to talk about. And I love that Kaitlyn has kind of had this very human experience that a lot of women go through and has kind of had a microscope on her and had to kind of like, you know, a lot of people are talking about it. And, you know, so let's talk about it. You know, like she would not have felt that remorse. There would not have had to be a conversation that needed to happen with these other guys had it not gotten to sex. If it was anything but that, it would not have been a conversation. And that is the power of sex. And that is why it's so important to talk about sex. That's why it's so important to make sure that you are having sex with someone that's worth it and that deserves it. And that's the thing, is for all we know, it was. For all we know, that experience with Kaitlyn and that guy was so intimate and so beautiful and so perfect for them in that situation. And unfortunately, because of the situation, it can't be honored the way that it should have been. I don't know. Maybe it is a genuine regret that she just has to live with, which I'm sorry. How many of us have had that happen? It's just a real life thing. This is my problem. Slut shaming is a very strong term. It's not a term that you throw around. It is a very profound and serious issue that is not talked about enough. And it's true. Let me ask you this. I would be willing to bet you, if this was The Bachelor and not The Bachelorette, first of all, I don't know that the producers would have even played it out like that. And I also don't think that there would be this kind of reaction to it. And that is the definition of slut shaming. I think it's disgusting. I think it's unfair. And I think it's important that we do talk about it, because this very distinct separation of what a man should do and what a lady should do and how it's different and how we should handle ourselves. Like, it is the year 2015, and I'm sorry, it's not about that being right or wrong. It's about allowing people to be who they are and being compassionate and being forgiving and being understanding, and to be totally honest with you, minding your own business. Just because that's not something you would do does not give you the right to then bully someone on a public forum. What you're talking about, this, you know, slut shaming, you know, this, you know, shame on Kaitlyn, whatever your standpoint is on it, that's your opinion. That's your interpretation of the situation according to what you've experienced in your life. Kaitlyn's experiences are different than yours. What she's doing right now is truly is perfect and beautiful the way it is. And there's nothing that I really truly think that it's sad to me that people are so vocal and opinionated about this without taking a second to stand back and think, wait, what would I do? And what have I done? And maybe I do understand where she's coming from. And yes, this was on national television, and that sucks. But it's also a really great opportunity to sit back and think about your life and sit back and think, God, yeah, like I have been through that, and that would be hard. And I am maybe that girl that, you know, would have allowed myself to get to that point, and maybe it would have been amazing, and maybe it wouldn't have. But who am I to judge, and who am I to say what's right or wrong? What I do like that we are talking about is that this term slut shaming. And I don't exactly know the whole story enough to know if this is like shame on the producers, but I do know for whatever reason it's starting a conversation, and that's what I like. Let's keep talking about the fact that if this were a guy I do think this would not have been as big of an issue as it is. So this to me is the perfect example of why I believe that Kaitlyn is the best Bachelorette, is because she is going into this allowing herself to be her. And I don't care who you are or what your opinion is. This is her life experience that she's going through, and no one will ever understand what it's like to be in her shoes, just like no one will ever understand what it's like to be in your shoes. Yes, it's a different story and a different situation, but they're just as important, and they're just as meaningful, and they're just as valuable. And I do think that that's what makes someone a very good bachelorette or bachelor, and I think that's what makes someone... when you can go into a situation like this and be unforgivably you, and just really kind of remove those expectations that people have put on you and allow the situation to be authentic and be what it is, that's what makes a great bachelorette, and that's what I believe in turn makes a great relationship. And I don't know the outcome of this for Kaitlyn. I don't know who she slept with. I don't know what the story is, but I do know this. There are so many of you who know what that feels like, who have had those moments in their life where you have woken up and you've thought to yourself, this changes everything. And that's because sex is so powerful. Sex is something that is so deeply intimate, and sex is something that is so sacred and special and connecting on levels that are just, you can't explain, which is why I love that she owned up to that she sat the guys down, and this is just, I'm just going off of what the teaser I saw, but to admit to that, I'm sorry, I don't know how many of you girls would have the balls to do that. I don't think I would. I'd probably be like, we're going to just be hush-hush about this, and we're not talking about it and pretend it never happened. No, the reason that she didn't is because sex is so powerful, and because it is something that that really does change things. And I think it's important that we take note of that, and that we look at this beautiful woman who's gone into this situation being so vulnerable, and she's really just having a human experience that we can all relate to, that some of us can relate to, some of us can't, and that's fine. If you can't relate to it, try to have a little bit of understanding. Try to really be slightly compassionate about what situation she was in and how she really was letting down her walls and allowing herself to experience it. And so that's my opinion on it. I think everyone's going to have a different opinion based on their life experiences. I happen to think it's a great opportunity to talk about slut shaming. It's a great opportunity to talk about the power of sex. And I think it's a very great example of an amazing bachelorette who's going into this having all of her walls down and having a beautiful human experience in front of all of us to experience and enjoy together. I think that might be out. Hold on. Yeah, that's all. I love you, Kaitlyn. And I want to know what you guys think. So comment below. Comment on Instagram. I'm interested. It's taken me a few days to wrap my head around it, but that's my feelings. And I've rambled enough. God bless America, and God bless The Bachelorette.